People have been shot, 5 people killed. What you're looking at is a live picture from Sky Eye HD. A manhunt is now underway for the gunman who killed 5 people. Investigators are now rushing, we are told, to a second scene. The shooting actually happened along Leaflet Lane near Cypresswood. 2 children also airlifted to the hospital in that shooting. We've got a crew on the scene there, but it certainly looks like these investigators are in a rush to get to that second scene if, in fact, they are not following someone. Again, Sky Eye HD is watching all of this happening up in North Harris County. Jeff, we wanted to get back to this. This is, in fact, a chase. Again, in North Harris County, it looks like authorities are actually following this gray car in connection with that shooting that we just told you about, where 7 people were shot, 5 people killed, 2 children were life-flighted to the Kingwood Medical Center, or rather to hospitals. And what you're watching here is authorities there following this vehicle.
Yeah, we'll get you caught up here if you're just now tuning in. So earlier, within the last hour or so, there was a shooting at Cypresswood off I-45 in North Harris County. We were told 7 people were shot, 5 of those were dead. Of that, those 2 children were flown to the hospital. At that point, when we got that news, the gunman was still on the loose. And now we've also got Sky Eye HD following what appears to be a chase here. Several cruisers. We've got Don Armstrong in Sky Eye HD. Don, we see several cruisers, and this gray sedan is one races in front. Don, can you hear us right now?
Yes, I can. I'm trying to get a location of exactly where we are. We caught up with this chase at the site of the shooting, and we were looking for other police cars at the scene, and all of a sudden one of them took off, and we followed him for a while, and he caught up with this car here. They had placed spike strips earlier on in this chase, but the driver of this car, matter of fact, there's some more spike strips. They're trying to get the car stopped, as you can see, but the car has yet to be stopped. Continues at erratic speed, sometimes slow, sometimes fast. On the street up here in northern Harris County. We're just off of I-45 in the Cypresswood area, as you mentioned. A whole bunch of constable cars are following this car and trying to get it stopped. We do not know if this car, the driver in this car, is involved in the shooting, but we are going to continue to follow this chase as long as we can here and see what happens. We don't know if those spike strips worked or not. Eric?
Yeah, Don, we definitely don't know who the person is in this vehicle, how they're associated with the shooting of 7 people, 5 killed. But we do know this person does not want to slow down. For several constables on the tail end. I can see, Don, you're trying to zoom in to see if that tire is flat or not, that back rear tire. Too hard to tell, but it definitely looks like it is low if it is not flat. But either way, this vehicle is still able to move at a pretty decent speed right now.
Yeah, as Don mentioned and Eric just mentioned, you know, again, this is coming right after we've been telling you about a shooting very close to the area there. Don, can you tell us when you got word that these deputy constables were following this vehicle and whether or not they actually left the scene of the shooting to get there?
I'm sorry, Alona. I had several people talking to me while you were talking. All I know is that there are a lot of police vehicles chasing this one vehicle. Let me talk to my pilot here just for a second. Aaron, do you know what street we're on here?
All right, Don, as you're kind of looking, we can definitely see, wow, several cars. Hard to take count right now, but it looks like it's going to be close to a dozen vehicles pursuing this gray sedan, again, that police are pursuing immediately after the shooting of 7 people in North Harris County. We've seen them go through several intersections. Right now, law enforcement being very cautious with this sedan that appears to be going probably near or at the speed limit at this point as this chase continues here in North Harris County. We have seen some cruisers speed up ahead of this vehicle, maybe to throw out some spike strips, you would think, but at this point we haven't seen that take place. We've just seen this sedan been able to make its way through several intersections, and you can see we're going to come up on another one here as this sedan moves at relatively a slow speed.
Yeah, Don, you made the point. Some of the driving is erratic because no doubt they are running through what looks to be a red light right there. They're not stopping for any of those lights, not incredibly high speeds, and it was just, I believe, clipped by that patrol car. There's certainly a lot of smoke or exhaust coming out of the back, but that person continues to drive the vehicle. Hard to tell also whether maybe that's from a flat tire right now. It could be a tire that's smoking. We did see them try to throw out some spike strips, and it looked like it may have caught the back of that car, possibly that left rear tire, and that's what we're trying to keep an eye on as they now get into some traffic.
Yes.
There's a lot of stopped vehicles here.
I think you're right, Alona. I think
Kirk,
that... Go ahead, Don.
Alona, I'm sorry, I just wanted to let you guys know we just turned off of Kirkendall, just past Louetta into this subdivision here, and the left rear tire is flat on the car, so it won't be too long, and that car will be disabled. I think that they're just holding back now just to see exactly when the car is going to come to a stop, because it will eventually.
Yeah, this is getting a little ominous here because now we're pulling into a heavy residential neighborhood here. We've got homes all up and down the streets here in this subdivision as this driver of the sedan continues to kind of just zigzag into this neighborhood. Again, several patrol cars in pursuit. That vehicle now, that back tire, as we noted, is completely out. We saw that white smoke turn to black smoke. He could be or she could be on the rim at this point as she's keeping a relatively low speed as well.
Looks
and
like
here's
a
cul-de-sac.
Yep, and it looked like a tire just came flying off of it a few houses back. Let's see what happens as the car pulls into the cul-de-sac, slows down. We've seen at least 10, or I would say more than a dozen police cruisers right behind it. It looks like the car is stopping. And we are going to be on a very wide shot of this because we don't know how this driver is going to react. Again, not sure whether or not this person was involved in the shooting that we've been following. You can see all those officers getting out of their police vehicles, but staying behind their cars with weapons drawn.
Yes, they are definitely taking cover behind that SUV, that cruiser right there. At this point, we saw the vehicle turn and kind of face the cruisers, but we have not seen anyone emerge from that sedan just yet. But a flurry of officers are now making their way up to the front line, so to speak, and there is obviously going to be some confrontation here, hopefully peacefully here at some point as we see everyone gather behind that SUV.
I just counted 18 police cruisers, and that's only what we can see right here in our field of vision. Again, we are keeping this shot very wide because we don't know exactly how this is going to end. It looks like a walking trail back behind that cul-de-sac. Obviously, this is a residential area, a very nice neighborhood, obviously a quiet neighborhood where hopefully everyone has gotten the word when they see that many police cruisers and will stay inside of their homes. So far, the person driving this vehicle has stayed inside of the car, and we have a whole contingent of officers that are shielding themselves behind that first vehicle there.
And again, if you're just tuning in, this is all the aftermath of a shooting in North Harris County off I-45 in Cypresswood, where 5 people were killed, 2 others, children, flown to the hospital. And at some point after that shooting, police were able to, this is a video we're telling you about from earlier at the scene, and you can see investigators are still out there at this point. And as they were investigating out there, that's how somehow they were able to pinpoint that gray sedan just a few miles away, if even that far. And that's when that pursuit started down several roads.
Yeah, erratic driving, as Don said, not reaching incredibly high speeds, but that driver did not stop for any red lights, any police vehicles that pulled out in front of them, certainly not for spike strips that ended up catching the back left tire of that vehicle. We saw the car end up on its rim as we take you out here back live to this neighborhood where the chase has come to an end because that person ended up driving into this cul-de-sac. We've got at least 20 police cruisers and officers in every one of those vehicles now out of their cars with weapons drawn. Again, the suspect that was driving this vehicle is still inside of the car.
Yeah, it's too hard to tell, but obviously there's some sort of communication taking place here, whether it's via bullhorn or any other device onto that cruiser. But we've seen no one emerge from that gray sedan despite the tire being blown out and him being kind of locked, or she being locked into this cul-de-sac here. And it's been several minutes that have passed now since we've seen officers. We saw 18 cruisers that alone accounted all come up here. We've got Don Armstrong, who's been monitoring the situation as well. Don, we see the bird's eye view you've been giving us here, live pictures via Sky Eye. And at this point, it doesn't look like anybody's ready to get out of that gray sedan yet.
It does not, Eric. No shots have been fired that we are aware of just yet. But as you can see, a full platoon of officers with a lot of police presence here at this scene. It looks as though the gray car has just stopped. We do not know if any kind of verbal communications is going on between the police and the suspect inside the car. Everybody is in a defensive position here, and I'm going to zoom in on the police officers to see if they have guns drawn. I do see the dog there, as you can see. The guns are available, but they're not drawn on the car. So hopefully they're going to end this peacefully before this scene comes to an end.
Yeah, a huge contingent there, all of the manpower and firepower that they could need. So they're handling this in an incredibly calm situation. Again, those vehicle speeds never reached high speeds, even on some of those wider roads. As this person exited off of the Kirkendall area, driving through these neighborhoods, we saw deputies stay quite a ways back. When they did pass, they simply got in front of the vehicle to get those spike strips out until eventually one police cruiser did clip the back of the vehicle. Again, the left back tire was blown out, and then the person ended up driving into this cul-de-sac. Officers keeping their distance there. Again, they have a police dog, just in case they end up needing a canine unit, but as you can see, they're taking their time and using a lot of patience in this situation.
They are, and you can imagine the fear that some of these homeowners in this cul-de-sac might be feeling right now as this scene is unfolding literally in their front yards. But at this point, as we've noted, it's peaceful. You would think some sort of communication is taking place, that canine is out, but we've not been able to see any type of movement from that sedan there. And certainly no one has emerged yet. As you can see, a contingent of law enforcement continuously gathering and also shielding themselves behind that SUV, which they believe this person is somehow associated with the shooting death there in the Spring area of at least 5 people, and 2 other people injured enough to be life-flighted to an area hospital.
Yeah, again, that initially, this shooting initially happened in a home here in this residential area. This is actually at 711 Leaflet Lane in the Spring area, and you can see all of the officers who were out there earlier. That's where they got the call of shots fired. They found 7 people shot, as Eric said, 5 people dead. And then the word came that that suspect from the shooting was on the run. Right after that, we picked up this police chase being followed by Sky Eye HD, this silver sedan, deciding not to stop for this huge contingent of deputies that were following. We did see some erratic driving, as Don said, blowing through stoplights, stop signs, not stopping for anyone or anything as they drove along until it came to an end here in this neighborhood. Yeah,
and again, we're still waiting. This has been several minutes now that this sedan has kind of cornered himself by driving into the cul-de-sac here of a neighborhood not too far from the shooting scene, maybe just a few miles. We saw that chase ensue. And at this point, no movement from that sedan, as we have live pictures from Sky Eye HD, but we certainly see almost, if not a dozen plus officers all behind this SUV, and several in different yards right here of this neighborhood, as I'm sure they've alerted homeowners to just stay inside and possibly even take cover at this point.
And it does look like some of those officers are going up to the doors of some of these houses. Don, we've been over this for a couple of minutes now, and I haven't seen a single homeowner come out of their home to take a look at what's going on, which is very good news given the circumstances.
I'm sure that they're watching this on their televisions at home. We did see some of the officers go door to door behind this scene, and apparently they all said stay indoors until this is over with.
Yeah, certainly getting the word out. No doubt communicating with social media as well to get the word out that this was happening. And hopefully those neighbors all understanding that this is a time they need to stay inside of their homes. But again, we haven't seen a single person walk out, even with a contingent like this, outside in their driveways.
And Don, as we've noted to viewers already, we're definitely keeping this shot a bit wide right now. So we see one cruiser move a bit because in case anything was to happen here, whether it's gunfire from either party here. But as we broke away, Don, I did want to ask, to some of the video we showed earlier, you've not been able to see at all who is in this vehicle, whether it's one person, two, or what they're doing at all, have you?
Eric, early on in the chase, before we went on the air, I zoomed in, and all I could see was the arm of the driver through the back window. That's not to say that there might not be somebody else in the car, but if I were a person to guess, I would say that yes, I would say that it is just the driver there. They have been maneuvering some of the cars for the police up here toward the front and putting the engine between the police and the driver of the car. I think that is a defensive move on their part, not knowing exactly what the driver is going to do.
Well, and that's a good point. If this person is in fact connected to the shooting of 7 people, 5 of them now dead, they would have every reason to believe that this person is armed and acting very erratically. So obviously in a situation like this, they are not going to take any chances. And as we've been saying, with a huge contingent of people and what looks to be a rather controlled situation at this point, they'll be as patient as they need to be, and they will take all the time that they need to take. If they need to get any sort of negotiators out there on the scene, we saw them arrive with a police dog, and they're just not taking any action until they absolutely need to.
Yeah, and you're right, Alona. They do essentially, for the most part, have this scene under control. If someone was to come out and try to flee from that vehicle, they do have that canine they can send to pursue the person in that vehicle. And at this point, as Don has noted as well, several officers maneuvering their vehicles to also give them some protection if for any reason bullets do begin to fly in this situation. But at this point, the person in that sedan, as we seem to be at a stalemate here after a chase and a cornering, so to speak, in this cul-de-sac here after a shooting that left 5 people dead and 2 children flown to a hospital.
Again, this all starting at 711 Leaflet Lane, where the actual shooting took place. This chase going on for 10 to 15 minutes and then ending here in this neighborhood just off of Kirkendall. Again, we will be keeping an eye on this one throughout the evening.